A while back, I was thinking about making a video about my top 10 favorite games of all time. Some on the list included the Batman Arkham games, The Walking Dead, Resogun, Infamous, The Witcher 3, Red Dead Redemption, and literally anything and everything Naughty Dog has ever touched. And while I was constructing said list, I noticed that there was a trend, and you listening to my list might have as well. A large majority of those games are strictly single-player games. Now, I've played tons of multiplayer games, whether it be co-op or a first-person shooter, but very few of those games were able to sneak its way onto my list. Now, I know that my list is personal to me, which makes it very subjective. Obviously, everyone has their own opinion and personal preferences, and mine is simply one of many, and doesn't necessarily represent a majority or popular opinion or anything. But there was an interview with the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, at the end of April that I found to be very interesting. Some of the things he said to many were written off as a cheap, lazy excuse for not competing with PlayStation system seller games. But I think the things that he said had some truth to it, as unfortunate as his predicted gaming future is to me. Now, if you're unaware, which frankly I'm assuming you are, Phil Spencer had this to say. The audience for those big story-driven games. I won't say it isn't as large, but they're not as consistent. You'll have things like Zelda or Horizon Zero Dawn that'll come out, and they'll do really well. But they don't have the same impact that they used to have because of these big service-based games that are capturing such a large amount of the audience. Sony's first-party studios do a lot of these games, and they're good at them. But outside of that, it's difficult. They've become more rare. It's a difficult business decision for those teams. You're fighting into more headwind. Basically, he's saying that story-driven single-player games are cool and all, but the future is with what he calls big service-based games. And yeah, like I said before, you could write this off and say he's making excuses why PlayStation has games like Days Gone, God of War, The Last of Us Part 2, Detroit Become Human, Spider-Man, and Death Stranding coming out, and Xbox has like, I don't know, another Gears, Halo, and Forza. Which is true, but he isn't entirely wrong. As a matter of fact, I think he's pretty right. Sony does hype up fans at places like E3 with their new, big exclusive IPs, but at the same time, it's other games that are capturing a large amount of gamers. Like, yeah, sure, Uncharted may sell 8.7 million copies, but it didn't even make the charts for the top 10 best-selling games of that year. As a matter of fact, Infinite Warfare was number 1, despite its sales being down 50% in the first week compared to the year before. And I think this is what Phil Spencer is talking about. If you simply look at Twitch, what are the top games being played? League of Legends, CSGO, Overwatch, aka service-based games. Games that you buy and that keep on updating themselves with new content. And yeah, I know that you can make the argument that watching someone play Counter-Strike is simply more fun than watching someone playing Zelda, but when you're looking at player numbers, there is just no comparison. I've said this time and time again. Microsoft and Sony making the PlayStation and Xbox are businesses, and Phil Spencer's statement is said with a total businessman mentality. It's about money, and putting your resources into the products that are going to pump out the most amount of cash. So with this mentality, you could put a lot of money into these first-party studios like Sony and Naughty Dog or Guerrilla Games. But why do that when a game like Destiny has way more people playing it for a much longer amount of time? And if you're a developer, why make a game like Uncharted when you can just make a game like Destiny? And I think Destiny is a good example of a game here. And it is also the easiest for me to talk about because if you know anything about me or this channel, you'll know that I have played a ton of Destiny. Destiny is a service-based game. You buy the vanilla version, play it, and then Bungie adds new content to it via either a season pass or microtransactions. The game is updated frequently with bug fixes and weapon buffs and nerfs to try to keep things balanced. And say what you want to about the game, but it has stayed relevant and has continued to remain relevant with a healthy player base for the 3 years it's been out. Others, like many Ubisoft games, such as Watch Dogs, try to keep a similar formula, and kind of try to be both games at once. A single player game with a season pass that offers new content, but it typically doesn't work out as well. When you finish the campaign of a story-based game, you get a sense of completion. Sure, you may have people like me that enjoy going for all the side missions and trophies, but that is clearly an extremely small percentage. I mean, how you look at The Last of Us Remastered on PS4, one of the most critically acclaimed games of all time, and only 41% of the people who played the game actually finished it. And this isn't because the game is bad or hard to play or anything at all like that. I think it just goes to the fact that the gaming market is changing. Gaming itself is becoming more common. You see people all the time playing games on their phone or tablet. More and more people are buying consoles. There are a lot of people on my friends list that only play COD and Madden, and that's easily explainable. I don't mean this in a derogatory way at all, but casual is the word to describe these people. Me and you, the person watching this video, is most likely not a casual gamer. You and me, we read about news, we watch trailers, we swallow up any info we can find leaked about new upcoming games that we're looking forward to. And we are in the minority. The Destiny raids are my favorite cooperative gaming experience of all time. But what a lot of people don't realize that do the raids and play Destiny is that such a small amount of people who play Destiny have actually played a raid. One of the reasons why Titanfall 2 sold so poorly was that there were a lot of people on PS4 that thought Titanfall was still an Xbox exclusive. All of this goes to the fact that many people playing games nowadays are casual gamers. Most people probably don't have a ton of time to get involved in a long story game, let alone an RPG. Most people probably come home from school or work and simply don't have a lot of time to play video games. These people probably aren't as passionate about gaming either, which means that a lot of times they aren't online every other day because they'd rather spend their free time doing something else. And when they do have that small amount of time, they're not going to want to play something complicated. They'll buy and play a game like Call of Duty that is popular, mainstream, easily accessible, and something that doesn't require a large time investment. These are the games that casual gamers, most gamers, are playing. And on the other side of the coin, a game like League of Legends is popular for different reasons. On my little understanding of it, it's easy to learn, but difficult to master. It's something that you can play with friends cooperatively in multiplayer, and is constantly remaining relevant in the competitive scene, being updated frequently to keep the game fresh. It is these games that make the money. A game that is as accessible to the most amount of people as possible, and can keep being updated with new content. Overwatch has events that add new skins and cosmetic items that allow the game to make even more money with very little effort. And it is games like Overwatch, Destiny, CSGO, and others that are the service-based games that Phil Spencer is referring to. And like I said before, his mentality as a businessman would naturally be pointed towards what makes money. And these games print money for a long time with minimal effort in between. Grand Theft Auto 5 could have had a single-player expansion, but why do that when everyone and their mom was playing GTA Online? Why put in the time and manpower to make a 6-hour expansion for a story-based game when you could just take 5 minutes and give Tracer a different color of pants? Me gusta. So going full circle with this, does this mean that story-based games like Uncharted, Horizon Zero Dawn, The Witcher 3, or any other game like those will one day not exist? Frankly, I can't say for sure, but remaining optimistic, I really don't think so. Sure, the audience for these types of games aren't as large as these service-based games, or they may not make as much money, but clearly there are still plenty of people out there, millions even, that enjoy, look forward to, and play these games. And as long as there is an audience, I believe that these games will continue to exist and thrive. I'm not a fanboy of any one console. Being honest, I really don't have anything for or against either platform. I've owned both a PlayStation and Xbox before, and even a Wii for what it's worth. I simply go to where the games are. So coming from one guy who is clearly part of the minority here, all I can say to someone like Sony is to not stop making these games like Xbox sounds like they are, continuing to cater to their hardcore fans. So maybe Phil Spencer is onto something to make Microsoft lots of money in the future. But I'm happy that Sony continues to support their first-party studios that consistently put out some of the most creative, innovative, and beautiful games I've ever played. And meanwhile, Xbox has Quantum Break.
Somebody's sneaking around down there. Hey! I think that's Jack Joyce!
Okay guys, you've heard my thoughts, but now I want to hear yours. Do you think that single-player games will one day be a thing of the past? Why or why not? Leave your answers, questions, video suggestions, etc. in the comments down below. As always, if you enjoyed the video, a like would be super appreciated. If you want to see more videos, you can click right on your screen. And for more content from me in the future, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Well, that's all I got. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one.
Because I tried all night, but the next